applications, everything should be up and running. Okay, so there will be a group of people to monitor. So their task is to ensure that if one of the application is down before the start of the business, then they'll raise a ticket. Right, the ticket is nothing but an kind of a process where end user will raise a complaint. Right. If you look at the ITIL, this is a core subject behind information technology. So that will be very helpful. IT, Information Technology Infrastructure Library. It's a concept behind your ISO 9000. There are a lot of external certifications also coming in for your understanding. I'll just make a quick introduction about how the process is made. So any problem coming in with this affecting your core application will be considered as an basically an event. If that event is seriously impacting the more number of users, then that becomes a problem. Okay, either way, this type of activity will be turned out as a process called raising a request. That is how the request concept came. So people will rise to reach the customer care over the phone, or there will be a self portal to raise a ticket. Okay, the simple terms is the ticketing process. Technically, it's a request or an incident. Incident will be kind of a logged activity where it is impacting several group of users. That's how, to make it in a nutshell, I'm just giving you, so that you can understand wherever I use this term, you can understand this. So in this area, you can find a wide opportunity and looking at a scenario. So certain cases, let us take an example of password reset. Password reset is a very stringent and very secured way, wherein a lot of people or a group of when multi users are using it, there is a chance for a person to forget, or he may be trying to reset for a security reason. So in that case, sometimes will not go, or it won't work. So that kind of automation will be very basic example. So where we can try to automate, and there the challenge is nobody can go and edit any of the data as a support person. For that, the respective person has to get an approval. So there will be an application owner, subject matter expert, we normally call that's SL from your client side. So he or she has to approve it, even if I want to change the data. So for that, I need to raise a ticket, and the ticket should go to an approval, and the concerned person will give an approval after seeing at your problem statement. If that is not approved, the support person is not supposed to do anything else. And whatever the things they are doing, they have to log it. So we all know that the importance of your software, how the process is stabilized or automated in such a way that each and every activity done by a developer should be logged. Okay, that is two aspects. One, to troubleshoot, and the second thing is to also audit perspective. So all these processes have been very clearly defined in your ITIL course. Probably you can look into that later. So how even if you want to start a startup company like a restaurant or a small company, they're very clearly defined. So let's not go into that mode. I'm just giving a very high understanding. And there is a term here mentioned as orchestration, right? Orchestration can be possible more on the ITPA side, because most of the jobs will be orchestration, nothing but a scheduling of jobs. For that, there are different tools available. If a very simple example in our Windows is your task scheduler, right? That performs orchestrator is not only scheduling, it also does few things called monitoring and controlling the bot. When I try to deploy my package as a bot, there may be multiple number of bots running on the same day. So there will be an admin guy who will be looking after that orchestration tool to ensure that all my bots are performed correctly. If something is stuck, then it will be terminated. In that case, the notification will go to the respective group of people, so that the other person will look into that and then try to re-execute it. So this is a very, very important thing. So that's why it's a wide area which most of the tools will be having that. So similarly, I don't know how many of you are well versed in Unix. So you can just explore how the jobs are scheduled. When I say job, writing a simple program by your under your profile, right? So that has to be scheduled using a cron tab. That is called as a cron. That's a very basic scheduler. But nowadays, the Linux has overcome a lot of things, and it has given very good advantage. A lot of people use different tools. So IBM is using Tivoli scheduler for Unix managing Unix jobs, and a lot of tools are there in terms of scheduling the jobs, right? So the Tivoli can manage Windows job as well as Unix job, and there is an open source called Rundeck. So these are all the very simple examples where a small customers will be using it. Even Rundeck also has their own license version. So thereby you can find more opportunity to in terms of automation. And similarly, the RPA side, there is a chance to schedule there as well. But most of the people will be very eager to know how my UI actions are mimicked by a bot. So for that, they will ask you to log everything with the screenshots. So that is also possible in the RPA side. With that, we'll move on to the quick introduction. This is a very comparison chart. So just to give you a high level understanding of what are the different tools available in the market, but you can just gradually look into that. Let us see. Most of the things are marked as yes, right? Aiho is a company where Aisha is a software tool which is predominantly used for IT process automation. ServiceNow is another tool which is actually performs the ITSM tool activities. When I say ITSM, it is nothing but IT service management. So you can raise a ticket, the ticketing process will be used. That is a complete tool package. Most of the customers will be. There are several ITSM tools. HP uses Service Manager, HPSM. BMC uses Remedy. And there is another tool called Jira. So likewise, depending on the business need, they will go for the ITSM tool. So ServiceNow has a wonderful opportunity to create an automated workflow. When you say workflow, you will have an IDE so that all drag and drop activities will be there. You can just simply drag and drop and you can perform your activity. For example, very simple thing, you are interested to check your file properties. You are expecting a file from another data center and you want to look into that and see whether your file has arrived or not. So for that, you don't need to write any specific coding. There will be a drag and drop activity. Get file. Just drag and your input will be as source of the file where you are looking it. You will just say whether the file is available or not, like that. This is very simple. Likewise, Aisha has given 500 plus activities in the tool. Whereas ServiceNow kind of a mix. You can write a Java program. It's a main technology behind Aisha is .NET. For ServiceNow, it is Java. And you can also write a PowerShell script. Similarly, there are other tools. So these are all the standard things which we can see. That is all atomic things. Microsoft uses their own orchestrator, MS Scotch, system-centered orchestrator, and CA is another tool, CA-PAM. Okay, so these are all the very branded tools which is used across the IT industry. And coming back to the features, so mailbox monitoring can be done where I need to look for an email. And so, for example, I'm looking for a particular email. Whenever I receive an email like I want to reset my password or approve this sort of activity, so I can make use of this tool to monitor a particular pattern of keyword in the subject. And also, if there is any pattern I need to follow in the email message, I can do it with this activity and I can perform the task. Similarly, email notification. If I want to send an email when a particular job is done, completed, and a particular task can be placing a file, a task can be updating a database, it can be anything. So based on that, or a person has done some job, it's triggering some other event, and based on that event, I can send an email to the respective target audience. Similarly, as I already mentioned, file folder manipulation is there. And connecting to the server other than Windows. You are in Windows, you want to connect to mainframe or Linux, do some jobs. You can do it from the host machine itself. Similarly, web service. Web service is nothing but to make it a very high-level understanding. As I already told about API, right? Web service, when any typical web application, you want to perform that, most of the application will have that web service. There's a simple URL where there will be a lot of methods behind it. You just need to invoke that, you get a permission from the respective product owner, and if the methods are exposed, you can carry out all that. For example, when I say the ticketing process service now, I can use it to log in and raise a ticket. Same way, if the web services are exposed, I can easily handle it in the backend. I don't need to log in, so that I can minimize that time. So I have a lot of the ServiceNow tool is already giving privilege to write in the backend code. So for that, you need at least a PowerShell script knowledge or a basic understanding of JavaScript, or even if you know Python, you can achieve it. So these are the major to scripting technology which mainly used across IT. You can, in fact, get into that by having a deep dive on the Java or Python. That's a major role playing, where the performance-wise and the response-wise, it's very faster. That's the main reason people used to go with that. And when you go with the tool-based automation, of course, the licensing model is a major factor, and the maintenance is another factor where people are still less. But if you are very good in script, you can achieve those things with a script, so that we can reduce our cost. Right? That's how the script-based automation, or the high level technically, the IT process automation plays a vital role. Similarly, monitoring a remote Windows services. For example, I need to check whether my remote server has done particular job. I don't have to log in on my own if I know the technology behind it. I can make use of my script, and then my machine will perform that and give the result in a format of an email. Similarly, the scheduler, right, as I already told, the orchestrator part and the very basic scheduler will be your customer will be already scheduled with a lot of jobs. There will be a group of people will be there to ensure whether all the jobs have been performed or not. If that is not available, then obviously that will impact your current business. So in that case, they will ensure that if something is delaying, then probably they'll raise a high priority ticket. So there are two terms you need to understand in terms of IT, ITSM process. One is a ticket, how the ticket is prioritized in terms of severity and in terms of priority. Priority, obviously, you know the by name, how prioritize the key, the main problem is. Severity is nothing but how severe or how the impact is across the number of users. So when I raise a severity one ticket, that means, for example, your ICICIbank.com portal is not working for 1 hour. What will happen? Your banking applications business will go down. Or imagine if Google.com is down for 2 hours. It will never happen, but that's how they are already maintaining. So that will be that's a very critical thing. Something is wrong, so they will raise a severity one. So there are a lot of process behind it. I'm just giving. So there are two terms called accepting your ticket and providing a solution to the ticket. Right? Accepting your ticket is nothing but your acceptance on time. They will set the timeline. This is my, so any ticket has to be accepted within half an hour. And the solution depends on the severity, the solution time and day. So you can get into that later. That's how the ITSM tool will work, so that based on the severity and priority, the process will also get more. And similarly, with this, all these tools, the comparison says, I can do mail monitoring using this tool, I can do email notification like that. So ServiceNow, there is no special activity to do the file and folder. As you see here it is. That means I need to write a script there. Wherever I find no, I can write a script. Wherever I find a tick, that means there is an activity behind that or a utility behind that tool. Similarly, UI automation with respect to ITPA, it's not possible. This Resolve is not that much used. That's why maybe we haven't come across that. There are some, while comparing the other tools. So the UI automation part will come into the next slide. And on top of it, all these tools predominantly accept any script. depending on your technology. If you use Windows, you can use PowerShell script. If you use Unix, you can, or Linux, you can use shell script, your own shell script. It can be Corn shell or a Bash shell, depending on the nature. Similarly, if you are, there is a chance for you to automate the mainframe service also. So these things probably you can come into that later when you get into the IT. You'll be given a high level or a deep training so that you'll come to understand this thing. But by the way, I believe most of your curriculum will cover .NET and Java and in fact Python as well. So you can achieve most of the things using any of these tools. So depending on the need, you can choose the right script and deploy it. Coming back to the RPA, robotic process automation. What are all the things I can do? First, let me try to explain, then we'll talk about the tools given here. So desktop automation is nothing but any thick client application I want to perform an automation, I can perform. Web automation, yes, I do. Any web application I want to do an auto login and then I want to perform certain actions that can be achieved through web automation. Similarly, business application automation. I take, for example, SAP, ERP. So these are all the business process applications where your process will be very simple. I mean, the process will be very clearly defined with the rules and steps. But depending on the process, your timeline may vary. But you will have a complete rule. I have to click here, navigate to this screen, click this one, choose this value, like that. So the primary requirement for RPA will be to make it very simple. You need to have an Excel sheet so that you can always clearly define the rules and make use of that part. Because Excel has the iterator method very easily. You can easily know the rows and columns so that you can populate whatever the fields you want and use it as an input parameter to the tool, right? So when there is a routine process followed, you can choose RPA, and especially if there are more number of UA actions are performed. And email automation, as you all know, I want to send an email on a typical scenario. I want to download a file from an email, or I want to attach and send it to back. These are all can be achieved because most of the business users use this. There are quite challenges in that I will cover it later. Okay, that is where your NLP comes into the picture. That's a separate topic. We can talk about that. So that is also available in the leading tools. Okay, it supports natural language processes. And the intelligent automation, right now, the AI is nothing but our first tool is Automation Anywhere. Second is UiPath. Blue Prism is another tool. And then we have AutoIT as well and WinAuto. Well, comparing all these things, first three play a very important role in terms of automation. So these are all the prime competitors within themselves. So all these three, Automation Anywhere, UiPath, Blue Prism, basically it's a thumb rule of .NET. So it can be deployed only in the Windows machines since it's .NET is a background. But you can achieve, your target applications can be anything. Okay? For example, you want to run a Unix script, you don't need to log in the Unix script. You can try it from the host machine. That is available, but for that you need to use the PowerShell. So there are a lot of technology you need to undergo. I'll just give you, in terms of the UI automation, where it will be easier for you to understand the role of automation. Each partner, right, these customers or the Automation Anywhere, their own vendors, they have their own academy. You can do certifications as a student. Community edition is provided, especially for UiPath and automation. Blue Prism is a typical, all the three will do the same type of automation, but the technology or the architecture might be a little different, but the approach will be same. The only thing is how effectively or how easily ease of use, right, from the developer perspective. I would say we as a team of automation COE, everybody have done the certifications in UiPath. It's a mandate process and also to learn more, right? So UiPath will be, from the developer perspective, it will be easy to work. We're comparing Automation Anywhere and Blue Prism because we have to do some kind of a little bit of OOPS concept behind it. So you need to design your page such that you have to carry out all the have to define the object. For example, if you take a Blue Prism, at least automation into an more or less thing. Blue Prism, if you want to automate a login page or an Amazon.com, okay, let us take prime example. I can make use of this tool. RPA concept, I'll tell you how it works. There are two conditions. If I want to capture a text box and type something automatically by a bot, I need to understand what is that element and where exactly it is positioned, or the coordinate XY coordinate. So if these two are very clearly defined, your tool will perform. For that, they have given an activity called getText, for example. GetText will search for an element wherever is a text box value, and it will try to read it, provided you need to know the element ID. So you don't need to try anything. If people are, you might have heard about Selenium, right? Where it's been used for a longer, almost for past 15 years for the testing automation. I'm not talking about the automation in terms of testing. It is automation in terms of the where the process is repeated. Okay, there the prime difference between Selenium 2 script and this kind of tool is Selenium. You need to understand. You need to write a little bit of code to read that element, and then you'll be writing your own function to override the text box or drop down or whatever be the elements. But here there is a concept. I'll talk about only part for making to make it simple. So there is a get activity where you can just keep that activity in a text box. It will give you the properties of that element. It will say what is the element ID, that will be always constant within that page, and then you will be given a type keyword activity where you can type whatever you want, or you can also use a hotkeys, send hotkeys like that. So everything from the Windows perspective, all the Microsoft View elements are automated with these tools. So that's plenty of options available. You guys can get into that community edition. You can easily understand what's happening, and it's a free for community edition is free. You cannot do most of the time, but from the developer perspective, there is a studio. It's a software. It's an IDE for the tool. So where I can use. I'll come back to this. So the intelligent automation is nothing but where the machine learning and AI concept is implemented. That's again an ongoing process. Okay, so that is it was initially started by Automation Anywhere. Now UiPath is also doing it and also supporting it, where NLP also comes into the picture. And then interactive workflow designer, that's available for all these tools. So your developer can left side panel, you can see the activities, and the right side you can see the properties behind it. And if you just click on it, it's in the triangle. So whoever worked in .NET, right, it will be very easier for you to understand. So you don't need to write a specific code to achieve a task. It's all activity driven, but of course you need to very clearly define the workflow. Okay. And the screen scrapping is allowed in all these things. So if you want to take a screenshot, I can do it. PDF automation is also possible. You want to read a text, or you want to scrap a particular text from a PDF, that is also possible. So here the more challenge will be, how do I automate in terms of the data which I'm trying to capture. The data may go, we can talk about the data as a structured data. The data can be semi-structured or an unstructured, right? Let me talk a very simple example. When I try to manipulate a text file, with I hope you all know the concept of how a data file with a delimiter is imported to a database. An employee database is there, employee ID, department ID, his date of birth, his salary, etc., etc. Or from the student perspective, student database, student ID, student name, date of birth, the course. So all these things will be available in a data file, and you can do the transaction to another. You can import the data to the another table. So that if the data is not in the typical environment, data is in a structured way. What will happen if I'm not having a structured data? I'm having some kind of a semi-structured, whether my system will try to capture it. So these are the challenges behind, and all these tools are maximum 90% supporting it. Okay, where at that time we'll be doing a partial attempt. Okay? Some things has to be manually reviewed, and give it as input to the bot so that the rest of the things can be done. Or sometimes I may be performing something and in between there is a process strictly I need to enforce an SME or an application owner to review and then give an approval to the bot to continue. Those are all the things where we find partial automation. And what are other activities available within this RPA tools is task workflow recorder. Okay, I can record as well. Initially, a Blue Prism will never allow you to record. So that's one thing. So you need to write a code for that. And similarly, role-based access can be given. Whether you are a developer or you are an admin or you are just a report, you are kind of from the management perspective. I'm just interested into just a dashboard, creating the statistical data. So for the management perspective, access will be given as a view will be actually, but they will not be interested in to see how you are. They'll be just looking at the results, right? And then there is an integrated debugger as well. You can debug, you can set your breakpoint, you can achieve the results. Similarly, you can use your SNMDB commands as well. Okay, in terms of networking components and all, you want to check whether properly your ports are open with respect to target data center. And scheduling is coming, nothing but your centralized scheduling is your accuracy control. Similarly, just explore on what is an API, what are the different types of web services can be. So there are different methods called SOAP. Yeah. Someone having any question? Web API, SOAP control is also there, right? SOAP always uses the XML way of data transfer. So that kind of input services can also be automated, these tools. And creating an EXE concept is not allowed in RPA because it's all workflow driven. But whereas Automation Anywhere supports that. You can write a small piece of program and make it as an executable, and you can base it within that. And then the very important thing, the prime role where any customer in terms of implementing automation will look into the last two parts: security compliance and security or privacy, right? Where see, most of the banking side, you can see, they won't allow you for an auto login. How many of you have seen that CAPTCHA login? Right? CAPTCHA was given only to stop your automation in terms of like when you're trying to mimic your human login, right? Because there are a lot of things where chance of stealing the data or misusing the data may happen. That's the main reason the banking people will given the CAPTCHA. Certain process with your permission from the security team, we can try to automate by skipping that process internally, not from the customers. So the CAPTCHA is also very challenging. Probably you can also try it. Whoever knows Data at Python, there is a way you can read the CAPTCHA, but it's not so easy. And if it is a machine readable CAPTCHA, you can achieve. If it is not, sometimes if you take LIC bank website, they'll ask you randomly, they'll give an expression, give me what is 5 plus 14. Sometimes they'll say what is 1 plus 6, like that. So that is again another challenge. This kind of thing is not possible. So that is where they will have always one. So depending on the nature of your tool, you can go. And not only that, a very important thing from the security side is password, right? How I'm allowing a human or bot to handle all my tasks. Because the prime thing is how I'm logging. The security comes into the picture. So whether my data is encrypted, how it is handled. So that is called a password vault. So any security team will, every security team in the IT company will have that. So that the passwords are handled within that vault, so that it will be encrypted, and nobody can decrypt or and have a chance to encrypt. So that is also covered as part of this tool. If already have, so far it's a very simple example from the security side. If you take a Windows Server or your Windows 10, you can see Credential Manager is one of the very base security type in an encrypted method. So it is following AES 32 encryption, right? So that is a normal standard encryption where you can create your password and you don't need to provide your password. It will generate on ID. We can normally call it as a service ID. That service ID will be used, and the password will be automatically taken from your credential manager. Okay. So the condition here is normally you would have seen most of the password. Every internet application is using that password thing, right? You need to change the password once in 3 months, like. So in that case, your automation, we need to set the condition such that you are giving a secure ID to run at least for 6 months without any. So those things probably you don't need to worry. But for time being, you can understand how the things are allowed in the typical automation tool. So this encryption method is not only for RPA; it's available in ITP. The ISAR tool is also, right? So these are all the just for to understand how from the business side, what are all the security concepts used. So HIPAA is mainly used for healthcare industry, right? Any data related to a person under healthcare industry should be always sensitive. Similarly, SOX audit is completely followed under US and UK. It is sovereign. It is something very similar to the ISO 9000 in our India. We follow that. So US and UK customers follow the SOX. And CCA is mainly used for the banking industry. How to secure my data, credit card details and other stuff. And that next comes where password policy. What I use. So your automation solution should meet all these compliance until unless it meets your compliance software complaint, your tool will not be approved. That's the reason I'm just saying all these things. So finally, should also cover the ISO 27000. Right? In the nutshell, I'm just giving. So most of the RPA tools comes under cover the .NET as a platform, and people will look after the Active Directory concept as well, where a large group of people, every user will be properly authenticated with an Active Directory. So these are all the Windows admin tasks. And AES 256 is the latest encryption technology where root prism, UiPath, everything is. So when these aspects are covered, then only you can go with a solution approach. So you don't need to worry as a beginner, but just try to understand this is a very important topic behind your solution. And this is very straightforward comparison. So again, we have already seen one type of comparison. This is another type of comparison. Okay, so how effectively? Probably Ram, someone needs any break for 5 minutes, so probably I can take, or we can continue.
We can continue, sir. I think we started. So I think students can still manage.
Okay, thank you. So I believe it's a very straightforward. Okay. So again, the concepts remain same. How effectively you can easily explore this in your when time gets right. So there are multiple people give their own suggestions. So it's a collective information which we get it from the forum. So you can try to understand how effectively all these tools are used. Okay, and yeah, you can see the macro record. So Excel is a very, you can see Microsoft itself with a lot of flexible options within Windows. So Microsoft Excel, without Excel, most of the automation will be failed, right? Right. So there itself, you can create your own macro and do a recording option. That's a very simplest form of automation. So where the typical end business users will be using. Similarly, the learning perspective, all these three tools have their own academy and register with your ID and then do the learning certifications. You can register with your email ID and you can perform it. Similarly, reusability wise, everything is there. But once again, I'll show you a simple example of RPA. Okay, I'll try to cover some demo probably so that you'll understand how the RPA tools work. For example, let us say Amazon.com. You want to look for a product and you want to automate it because it's a very single. You don't need to go and take. So you can keep a list of products in an Excel sheet and you can perform. So that bot will read one by one as data and then it will try to fetch that data by typing the information into the search window and click the search button and then it will. What will happen if my design is getting changed? Any software solution will obviously have a change in terms of content and outline, right? So the challenge here in RPA is you have to be very strictly designed, so, and you have to keep the customers upfront. So if there is a change in design, your entire process will get changed. You may have to redo it. So we have to ensure that the elements are not renamed. The position can be. I cannot stick on that. So for example, I'm having a drop down and the text box somewhere. I want to change the color. That is not a problem. If I change the control itself, instead of that control, I'm using different control. My element. So as I already mentioned, your element ID should be constant. Your coordinate should also match. So coordinates, there can be a chance for you to use the dynamic of elements can appear anywhere. Or that also there is a possibility in your RPA. But it will go by element ID. It will search for the element ID, and so to some extent, you can also create an image when you design the workflow. How my text box will look like. So it will scrap on its own, and it will refer that image as well as your element ID. It will go and search and it will pick it up. But the prime difference between Selenium scripting and these kind of tool-based scripting is in Selenium you need to understand, read the element ID with the utility available, and then you have to write your code. So that activity is that concept is called a selector. So probably you can understand that later. And then accuracy, as I already said, in terms of automation, it's reasonably you can achieve the things. So complexity side is a medium. When it comes the Citrix platform is a different thing, okay, in terms of security. So most of the challenge in automation is Citrix automation. So a window within a window, it's not so easy. Similarly, doing a remote desktop using a UI, you can do backend activities from the source machine without logging to the target machine. If I have an application designing in a target machine, I need to do the RDP remote desktop. That's the challenge because I'm having a window inside a window. There's a chance for I cannot achieve in person. It's more achievable. Normally, Blue Prism claims for that. When we have seen there are risky factors. When we get into that, you will understand that. And similarly, the robots are termed as I already mentioned, executable workflow is called as a robo. And UiPath uses a front office and back office similarly automation. But Blue Prism doesn't have front office concept. So at least with the UiPath and automation, you can see how the work is performed. The front office is nothing but when I have a front office bot, I can see how bot is performed. When I have back office bot, and I cannot see how bot is performing, of course I can see only it will be running the background. If I want to interrupt the bot and give some input, I have to choose front office bot. If I want to run it on its own, I can choose backup. But in Go Prism, you can see how bot is performing. You can see you can't see the UI since it will be performing it in the background, you can achieve the result. But wherever you want to take a screenshot, that and all it's possible. And every tool uses its database. Mostly it's also. I'll come back to that. After details, the upcoming slides. Right. So that's how you need to understand how the difference between front office part and the back office part. Similarly, how a scalability point, the comparison says automation anywhere has larger capacity. And while looking into the UiPath, its chance of crashing. But these are all probably 1 year back, but still every year they are using their own versions. So 2020 version of UiPath claims that they are meeting most of the AI concept as well, right? And, in terms of debugging and security thing, Blue Prism plays a vital role because it has a stringent process. So as I mentioned, I'll show you one sample demo and I'll just try to explain how Blue Prism is operated. So, when I want to design a user login page in UiPath or automation here, I can just simply drag and drop the text box and password and just click the submit button. I can drag the submit button as well. When I say drag, it's not like the element properties will alone be drag. But when I want to design the same thing in Blue Prism, I need to create for every element, I need to create an object. First, I have to create an object studio. Then I have to bring in the process. So process is nothing but what action I'm going to do or what task I'm going to perform for each and every one. So that's how the prime moves concept is defined. So it predominantly uses C#. And it's completely following rules. So that's a reason, the time taken by Blue will be more. But from the result point, from the achievability perspective, it's so accurate if it is properly designed and reviewed. And all these bots can also be made as a queue because a license is another factor to purchase this bot. So you can also understand the queue management so that I can buy one or two bot and handle 5 different workflows by scheduling it at different time. The queue management is also allowed. Coming into the architecture nature, everything is a client-server architecture. Okay, so UiPath as for orchestrator, you will be using a URL alone, but for Studio is nothing but your ID. Okay, so orchestrator has its own studio, Blue Prism has its own studio. Similarly, UiPath has. I'll cover that components also in the upcoming slide. When the process designer is concerned, you can achieve script based as well. So, for example, simple task I want to achieve. Database. Let us take an example. I want to run a database query. Instead of there is a chance where when you use a business application, I don't want to. I just want to change one status field. I have multiple fields inside my UI. Okay. For example, a student screen. If your admin people will be doing that. For example, a student is getting completing the course. They will not be deleting the data, right? They'll be just changing the status of the student that is passed out or completed. So the ongoing student will be always active. So when the student is passing out from the institution, obviously the status will become inactive because he's not an active user. So that no transaction will be performed. If at all, if someone wants to see some data, then their manager or they need to seek an approval from their manager. So that's a typical example I would say. Like that. You want to change only the status, of course, that privilege will be given only to the admin of that application. So they don't need to log in and do that, right? I can provide them in terms of writing a query if at all I got an approval. So I can avoid the UI navigation things. And it will not be a straightforward thing when you want to change a small data or you want to change a particular name, first name, last name is getting changed due to some reason. It is very common for any person, right? So you don't need to. So in these kind of things you can do simple query operations you can do so that you don't need to load the bot in terms of UI. Or in a typical reporting process, you want to run a report and save it as an Excel file. For this, I don't need to. So most of your internet application will allow. You go to the State Bank or internet banking, you can see the statement of accounts just by giving start date and end date. It'll generate PDF file or Excel file. So these things actually, from the UI perspective, the user is going to click only 2 or 3 clicks. From the result perspective, there will be a database running. So how can I achieve that? I'll be having a standard query behind it when I design the workflow, so that I'll invoke that query when the person click on submit, right? That's how you can invoke all your script. Similarly, the base technology behind is, as I already mentioned, .NET is there, and there are another concept in UiPath called Elasticsearch and Kibana that's mainly used behind the database. Okay, that you can explore more later. I don't want to dump everything. And from the reliability perspective, as I already mentioned, UiPath actually, when we started, it was like that. Current scenario, I would say it's all meeting the requirement. Blue Prism, obviously, from the you can see that nature of the achievements or how effectively these products are using a Gartner product. There's a Gartner concern, which is a common third-party concern, who is actually giving weightage to each and every automation tool. And just see the graph. Any tool coming under quadrant, that is a approved tool. So you can see how effectively all these tools are playing. Right? In pricing, in terms of pricing, I don't want to talk about that. So it's a plenty. Okay, it will be dollars and dollars. So you can't even imagine about the pricing. So let us not worry about that. As a student or as a beginner, you can utilize the community edition. For Blue Prism, they'll give only for 2 weeks to learn as a standalone license. But one more challenge is, once you install a freeware, you cannot do your reinstallation. It's not allowed because it uses your MAC IP, MAC address, as well as your email ID. So both should be unique. All these tools have a very intelligent way of installation process. But from the learner perspective, you can well utilize all these academic. Blue Prism is giving a lot of materials, even their academy portal. You can try that, you can learn it. That will really help your career, right? Certification and education, as I already mentioned. So you can just explore it in your website. I can show you example as well. These are all hardware, software requirements. The interest of time, I'm skipping it. So it's pretty straightforward. RAM should be at least 16 GB so that multiple users can perform it. Okay, using a remote desktop connection. And similarly, hard disk requirement should be minimum 100 GB. This is for iShare. So all these tools use the same configuration because it uses standard Microsoft .NET and the SQL Server as a backend. Why SQL Server database is used within the tool? To meet the encryption, right? So your encrypted data will be stored in the database so that even I cannot perform the query to retrieve the data. That's how it is designed. And this is for UiPath requirement. What are the components? UiPath Studio, Orchestrator, Windows 2008. This is a minimum software, and as a .NET platform, you need a .NET framework 4.5. And SQL Server 2008 or above. Now you can even get to 2012 or 16. And just make a note. If you are interested to go with Orchestrator, you can go for SQL Server. Otherwise, Windows 10 will also be sufficient, but it's not advisable to use Windows 10. As a beginner, you can use, but not as a deployment perspective. So you need to go with the 2000, any Windows service, preferably 2012 and above. So initially it was supporting, but by experience, I'm just saying try to use the latest one, so that you will not have any performance delays. And these are all the 4 components used for UiPath. Front office bot, as I already told. Okay, assisted bot. And back office bot, it's an autonomous software. So it's a run unattended. That means running the job in the background. So without any human interaction. UiPath Studio is the typical IDE where a developer can create workflows and troubleshoot everything. Orchestrator is the where which is used to control and monitor your bots. Right? Second one, hardware and software requirements. This is again for UiPath, similar to the one. So 8 GB is the minimum recommended. You can also see this in your UiPath website. They've given plenty of things. So depending on your bots, they would have given from the deployment perspective. From a developer perspective, I think 8 GB RAM should be sufficient. If you are trying to perform multiple users, then you need to go with the higher. And, Blue Prism components. Yeah, again, Blue Prism has a different component. As I said, Object Studio and Process Studio. These are the 2 prime components. And but it's covered within the Blue Prism Studio itself. From the application perspective, it is called as Blue Prism Studio. But the inner side, when you develop the workflow, you need to worry about object and process. Similarly, control room is nothing but your orchestrator. And release manager is to maintain all your releases. You all, the people who are in MCAs or MSc software or computer science engineering would have known that release management, right? When you study about configuration management, you know how the version control is maintained. So all these things we covered in release manager. And then software requirement again is applicable, similar to the UiPath. Automation Anywhere has a different thing. It also has its own studio and control room. But the bot's definition is something different here. Task bot is one type of bot where you can see, you can write smaller actions with respect to the Windows server side, right? So you can try to use the task bot. And when you want to create a bot under Metabot, that is mainly used for integrations. So I'm integrating one service to other target service. For example, the API integration center. For that, you can choose Metabot, so that any complex process is followed, you can achieve. Similarly, if you take a cloud applications, right? For example, Salesforce, they use the web services. So certain actions you don't need to log in at the portal and perform. So you can make use of web service. For that, you can go with the Metabot. So these are all the bots which are available. Depending on the nature of the development or the requirement, you can choose the bot and make it as a package. Just keep one point. As a developer, you don't need to worry about bot. You can just simply create a workflow and run within your window. When you want to deploy it as a package, then you need to think about bot. Okay, don't worry about this. These are all with respect to the production platform, not from the developer platform. And IQ Bots is an intelligent automation, as I already claimed. They are claiming that they are meeting all AI requirements. Right? One chatbot solutions can be achieved on your own. You can design with your own solution in terms of machine learning and AI. That's a very high level understanding about all these tools. I'll quickly run through a basic open source demos. Give me 2 minutes. I'll just run it lively so that you can understand how the RPA works. Right. So I cannot share that tool base since I don't have that environment. So at least whatever the things you can achieve it using Python. That is a main topic. That is a separate topic for that. The concept is nothing but Robo framework. Okay. So I will try to, since you are all listening so patiently, with more patience to, from the theoretical perspective, to make more interesting being at a lunchtime, I'll try to show some few demos which we have tried it with the script based, right? I'll just go to command prompt. I'll try to explain how the Robo framework concept is used. Let me know once you are able to see my screen. We'll talk about the Robo framework. I have only 5 or 6 slides, but before that, I'll show you how it works. Then we'll come on to the IDE part. Let me know whether you are able to see my screens. Are you able to see my screen? Okay, thank you. So the typical Windows, within Windows, there are few applications. Okay, you can see how what is performing. Dobo is the utility which you need to use. Once you perform this is for under Python. Okay, so I don't have the tool here, so that's the reason I'm to make it very simple. Whatever, this is a recent trend where we are trying to, in terms of when a customer benefit, few customers will be asking for a script-based automation, so that with the use of open source, you don't need to spend much when you do anything in Python. Okay, so the bot here, it's a name itself is named as a bot. My solution, once I develop and complete my package, it will be named as a robot. I'm just trying, just observe how it is doing. I'm just going to press enter. I'm sorry, I think I gave a wrong answer. Of course, the initial, yeah, you can see The window is open. It is clicking the elements. You can see it is trying to type the choose a checkbox, radio buttons, command buttons, everything in the background. You can see how fast the bot is performing.
You are not able to see, sir.
Okay, sorry. I'll run again for you. It won't take more than a minute. Okay, just a second. How about now? You can see, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. So as I mentioned, for Robo framework, I need to use a keyword Robo, and my file extension should always, by default, when you save the file itself, it will be having that extension. Okay. You can see a dialog box is opened. It's a Windows utility available under Systems Editor folder. So this is typically used for automation. So you can see how bot is performing. It is automatically clicking the checkbox, radio button, drop down, typing some value in your text box. You can see. So you can see how fast the UI actions are performed. Okay, this is nothing but your RPA. This is called robotic process automation. The same activity can be easily designed with your leading automation tools like UiPath Automation Mirror and GoPrism as well. But the environment is a requirement from the hardware and software is the investment and the typical way of installation side. It requires a lot of effort. But if you know Python, you can also know there is a course in Udemy as well. You can just see, or you can learn on your own. Just try learning on the Go framework. Over this, we'll see about the basic requirements in the slide. With that, I'll try to cover it. Okay. I'll just take another 15 minutes. For your interest, I'll also show how the web application is automated. There are sometimes you may end up in failure when your proper files are not installed. Okay, so that's only problem. Just hope this should work because when you achieve something in Chrome browser or IE, you need to ensure the relevant drivers are loaded properly. Otherwise, there is a chance. Just see how. So it is executed. It's giving you the scenario. In this example, I am trying to open Amazon website and carry out some UI actions. But depending on the load rate, this is what I talked about the load. Until my screens are properly loaded, it won't continue the next task. So it is loaded automatically. The browser is open. Depending on your internet speed, right? It is typing automatically. So it is, I've dragged the text box. I'm just searching for a mobile. That's it. From this, you can do a lot of things. I'm just giving a very simple example to all how the robotic process automation works. Once it is completed, this is basically Robo Framework is used for predominantly for the testing purpose. So the test automation is totally different. So where you need to write a test case, you have to write the test scenarios. All those test scenarios can be captured in the IDE, and you can perform it. Okay? Just for your easy reference, I did. So I will show you one more typical Windows component, how it is performed. You can try to start with a notepad application or a calculator application so that you will come to know how the system is performed. I'm not typing anything. I'm not going to connect anything. I can't do a remote desktop, but I'm just showing how the utility can be automated. So the tree view, its element can also be captured using. Right. So I'll quickly get through the tech and tell what are the prerequisites in order to achieve this. You can even try it from your own. Okay, when you want to learn something on your own within your personal laptop or whatever way, but just ensure that you are having a proper. I think Python is a well-known thing. You will have it in your lab as well. You can use that accordingly. Just give me a minute. I'm trying to take the slide. Just a second. It's loading. The deck is loading. Just give me 5 seconds, 5 to 10 seconds. I will try to share the screen. Quickly, I'm not going to take much time.
So,
I'll
guys,
quickly.
if you have any questions, I think you can probably like make some time until it gets loaded. Probably ask sir, and sir should be able to help you out.
Yeah. Anybody having any questions on this automation side or any class? I can understand certain terms may be new for you. Feel free to post your queries. I'll try to explain. Anybody having any questions? Okay. I don't know how to take it. Either you know everything or you're halfway. I'm not sure. I'm sure something would have given useful information with respect to today's session. So don't stop it with this session alone. Try to explore all these things. Then you will learn on your own. You can have a good chance of exploring everything in their own academy platform. Okay. So probably you can reach the HR team through your college so that there's any technical support required in terms of learning, probably we can start. Other than that, I'll proceed with the Robo Framework concept. Okay, just quickly, I'll run. The basic requirement is you need a Python, minimum 2.7 or 3.2. Okay, it has several libraries. It's all library. When I say libraries, again a Python that you can import it. So the Robo Framework is one of the IDE. Okay, which uses to create all your UI actions. So it's a very straightforward English keyboard. You just need to know how to make use of a library. You will be able to achieve the things. And it generates 3 type of reports. One is report.html and another is log, and finally your output. Your output will be again stored in an XML format. Report will also say, so for example, in a design with a test case scenario, you can see the result in terms of scenario. So it can run in the two method, like you can run it on a Windows when you are implementing Python. It also has for .NET based platform, you can use Iron Python. Okay, similarly, you want to run it on a Java side, you can use JVM Python. And it can be extended natively using Python or Java. Even if you want to achieve something with a Java program, you can import your Java utility within the framework so that it will execute. Right? It supports other languages. So this is how the typical IDE will look like. You can see, you can set up all your libraries in the setup section. Settings section, you can set all your rules. Okay, what are all the remarks you want to add. And resource is nothing but what are the input file you are giving it, okay, or reference file. And variable, you choose all your variables you can define. And test case is nothing but, for example, in a typical Amazon website, whatever I show, login is my first test case. Second is searching the product. So there are two test cases. I can define it that way. So these are not the standard thing, but as a beginner, you can at least define a common one, at least one test case name should be defined, and then you can use it. And there are third-party tools available to write your code. Actually, we don't have time, otherwise I can explain that. With that tools like Chrome, RoboCoder, you don't need to write anything. Just scrap it, it will give you a RoboFramer code, and you can just copy and paste it inside your IDE. And similarly, how do you capture the elements? For that, you require SPY Plus or AutoSpy. So AutoSpy will, as a default one, where you can have it in your environment and search for it. So these are the things where your UiPath and automatic is already performed. So you can actually replace it. So the only difference is that it's a little bit of development effort is required in this, but it's all free, right? You can, from the learning perspective, you can achieve it on your own. But since it's a drag and drop for the other tools, it has its own IDE, you can achieve a lot of things. But here, RoboFramer, it's not a drag and drop. It's a kind of input where you need to type it and then carry out all the activities. So as I mentioned, a lot of libraries are available. These are the requirements. You need Python 1.7, RoboFramer 3, version 3. Everything is available in the GitHub. Right? And RoboFramer.org and other steps are also there. So go to this and you can find plenty of document. So I'll just cover the list of libraries available within the Robo. You want to perform any operating system level, you add operating system library. Sikuli library is for image processing. For example, imagine this is I'm trying to click a Windows taskbar button and perform an activity. In that case, if I'm not able to get the element, I can capture that image, for example, taskbar icon, the startup icon, and save it as an image, and then I can insert the bot to click that image so that it will go and compare that whether the same image is available in your window. It will try to match it and then it click. So that is how the image processing carried out using SQL. Similarly, Selenium, as you all know, all the web applications require Selenium. And dialogues for carrying out all the dialogue. You saw some of the dialogue windows which I showed, right, with the drop-down, combo box, everything. And similarly, screenshot library used to save or take your screenshot and save it in a file. And Excel library used to handle all the Excel activities. Database library used to handle all the database query operations. SSH for performing Linux related commands. White library is the one which is predominantly used, that is where all your Win32 forms can be used. So whatever I showed in the desktop, the client. And then Windows application driver is a WinApp driver, it is used for latest .NET framework tools. And recently PyWinAuto is another new library. Since it was introduced 2-3 years back, but it has been overcoming the white library so that you can easily do all the automation. I'll show one typical example of how the Selenium library works. Okay, with that we can close the session. So just 5 minutes, if you don't mind. You can explore on your own. You can learn a lot. This is just to make you an understanding of what automation. So that's the main agenda behind this. So it's a very wide topic. You can get through and do a self-learn. If you click that link, you can see what are the actions I can perform using RoboFrame. For example, the very basic thing is locating an element. You just click it. How I can click an element. There may be some hyperlink available. There can be a button, or it can be a simple element. So what is my parameter for that? First of all, I need to get the identifier. So for that, I can make use of your HTML developer code in console itself, or you can use that Chrome logo or catalog. Okay, and you come down, you can see how the various way. If it is a CSS, the XPath. Most of the websites will use the XPath link. So how the XPath is carried out. So these are the coding standards. So you can just go through this. Plenty of options are available how to use it. Checkbox should be used. You just need to use this checkbox. And then locator is nothing but your element ID. Locating elements, I'll show you in the Chrome browser how elements are located. And similarly, open browser is one of the keyword which is used. Just say open browser followed by your URL name. That's it. I'll quickly show how the Robo framework looks like. That will start giving you 1 minute. It will take 30 seconds to load. Meanwhile, if you have any questions, please we can discuss now. This you can, I think you can achieve it. We haven't tried in the Linux machines, okay? But you can achieve the Linux task by installing Robo framework within the Windows. And in fact, we are currently working on the mainframe applications. So this is how the one which I showed you, right? Very simple example of Amazon website. You can see how browser and the other stuffs are coded here. You can see the typical ID. If you look at this is the left-hand panel. You can create your test cases. Just say open Amazon. This is what I'm saying. I'm just giving. I gave a very high-level example. Just say open browser. Then you can use the browser as a variable, and where you can define you want to run it in Chrome or IE. Then maximize window. These are the library. So to understand the library, go for the search keyword. So you can see the built-in libraries in Selenium library. So you can just type open. It will give you open browser how I can use it. Okay. You don't need to fill this grid. You just need to care about this one. The dialogues is one which is required. You can. So I actually tried. Initially, I tried it for capturing the text box, typing some text box values. And that's the reason you can use. So whatever you type, just ensure that you are giving a keyword will be in the brown color, and then just give a tab. This is a value. So whatever you give, it will be automatically converted. Right? Very simple. So these are all the elements, how the elements can be captured. So if you look at the Chrome, you can make use of Chrome Robo or Catalan Recorder to understand what is an identifier. So that's again an open source, third-party source. For the interest of time, I am in a final mode of winding up. So if you guys require to have any questions, we can continue for another 5 minutes or depending on your need. Actually, I am not able to get that. I'll just show you how the elements are recorded. So you can see Chrome logo, right? Just click on that. Chrome logo. There is another tool. You go to the developer tools, right? You can also get the element details from here as well. So for example, how I can use it. If you have added the extension, right, you can see the Chrome logo here. Use this, just say, you can see input type equal to text. So text ID is, this is the locator name actually for typing the value. This will help you to read the elements. There are other tools also, like it will automatically write a code, but it's not completely. A lot of the since it's an open source, people try to use their own way of capturing the elements. Right? So in order to capture, there are some challenges here as well. If you are using any Java or third-party elements, in that case, you have to try the Java-based components libraries has to be installed. If you go to the Robo Framework website, right, you can see a lot of information available. Here you can see the complete documentation how to handle it. Normally, Robo Framework is a wide topic, but just to make it a very clear understanding, I have compared this in addition to the automation tools overview. So Python itself has its own, as I already mentioned, Python library do a lot of things. You have a lot of things you can explore on your own and achieve based on your. Just a minute, it's loading. You can see how the materials or the libraries and are documented, and you can how to use that, how to install it. Well, of course, installation there is a typical process. Just follow that, and you can get help from your networking team. But all it is open, so that they can help you with installation. If you want to try on your own, just ensure that it's not hitting your other executables. That's it. Because everything will be installed in the command mode, console command, so there is a chance for you to override. Yeah. So I think I'm done with my sessions. If you have any questions, probably we can continue.
Any questions? Students, you can also use your
It
feedback.
was a very good session, though not being a very technical person, but then I am sure our students who were there till the end might have definitely going to use it and is going to help them a lot. Ram, thank you so much for organizing this session.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you all. Thanks for providing a
Thank you.
wonderful
Thank you, sir.
opportunity.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Hello.
बहुत सारे लोग पाइथन
लाइव क्लासेस कुछ होगा ना, वेबिनार वेबिनार जैसा।
काम
6 तारीख से मैंने तुझे भेजा